What's the biggest marketing myth?
The one is the belief that that your brand is so special and different that there is a unique sort of group of customers out there that like it, and you need to conduct expensive research to try to find out who these people are, and you need to constantly only be talking to that type of person. This is a myth. Brands compete against other brands and they sell to roughly the same sort of customers, and so you need to go for all the customers that are in the marketplace, which means you don't need to waste money with all that thing, and you have to be very careful that you don't end up with a marketing plan that just talks to a very, very select group. That's just not a way to grow. And the other one, which is related to that, is the idea that we can extract growth out of loyalty, out of targeting our heaviest customers, and that they are our most important customers. In actual fact, most customers for any brand are really very light. They don't buy the category that often, and of course they buy the brand, so they don't get around to buying us very often. And these are the major source of growth. So it's vital that you reach non-customers. Reach is absolutely paramount. It's a constant battle for attention. Your consumers are loyal, but they're not super passionately loyal. You are not the only brand for them, and they can easily forget about you. So this means marketing is terribly important. It also means consistency is very, very important, because when you realize that the vast bulk of your customers and the vast bulk of your future growth is coming from people who are very light category buyers and hardly ever buy you, well, it's a sobering thought. It makes you realize that if you make changes, you confuse them very quickly. And it's not that they get very angsty about this confusion, they just choose another brand. If you change your colours of your store and make it a little bit harder for them to be found, they buy lunch somewhere else. You can Google on the web, there's a lovely image where it shows a Pepsi logo in the sort of 1800s and the Coke logo in the 1800s, and then change after change after change after change after change for Pepsi, and for Coke, none.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the more successful brand? Yes, one of the clear lessons, and it doesn't really matter what size your budget is, whatever size your budget is, spread it out so that you have coverage. Yeah. That will help you actually gain more reach, but you need that coverage over time as well. Yeah. You never, every day some consumers make a decision to buy, and you never know when they're going to come into the market. You've got to be there. If you go off air for 6 months, well, that means the shortest, the 6 months is the minimum distance since they last saw something from you, and for some it will be much, much longer than that. Yeah. So marketing is it's a cultural disease we have in marketing, this sort of campaign orientation.
Yeah, that's right.
We do campaigns, do a big burst, feel very excited by it, and then stop and have a rest and regroup and plan. This is quite bizarre, because the market is still going on while we're doing all this resting and planning. You need to know who is in your category. Yeah. Women's clothes generally sell to women. And then the hard work begins of saying, well, how can I reach all these people as often as possible, as much coverage and time. Yeah. But you don't want a lot of frequency. You don't want to, unless you've got astonishing budgets, you don't want to waste money by hitting them twice in a day. We must look like us. We still must be communicating the same thing, but do it in nice, fresh ways. That's what Coca-Cola has been doing for decades. They've been saying the same thing over and over, but in nice, fresh ways.
They don't change it up all that much.
No. Because what more do we need to know about Coca-Cola? Yeah. It's fun, it tastes good, when we know all these things. But they do need to keep telling us about it, because the typical, the more than half of Coke's customer base only buy Coke about once or twice a year.
I remember reading that in your book, and I was surprised to discover that.
It's surprising, but it's the same. It's the same for all sorts of brands. You'll hear things like, it's cheaper to retain customers than it is to acquire new customers. And people will nod their heads to this as if it's just gospel. It's not. Look, new media is exciting from a marketer's perspective because of new ways of gaining reach, new ways of gaining continuity. Probably our most powerful media, and still is today, our most successful media is TV. Only costs a few cents to reach someone. Fantastic media, but it has probably its biggest flaw is that it's skewed to after dinner. That's where the bulk of the viewing occurs. And for some products, you can think, well, it'd be nice if we could also reach people at breakfast and other times during the day. And that's what opens up other media, and lots of new media offers these sort of potentials. But we have to crunch the numbers and see whether it's worthwhile. So don't ever strike out any media. Look at what sort of is it. How many of the people I need to reach will it reach, and particularly does it accumulate over time? If I place an ad here and then 2 weeks later I place another ad, do I reach some new people? So my reach just keeps growing.